Hey guys, it's Jessica.
And this is Kendra, and you're listening to
Lucid Lab.
Summer is over, officially.
I don't want it to be.
I mean, summer's not really over because it's still hot, but yeah, school's back in.
Literally, the day this comes out, my daughter has gone back to school, and I know that I am miserable.
We're already projecting that. No,
yes.
let's manifest that everything is going great.
I have tried everything to wake up on time. I have set a million alarms, and I am not waking up. As of right now, nothing is happening. I have tried for like 4 weeks.
And you got to get her used to getting up too.
Yeah. When this comes out, we may have been 2 hours late, and she has missed the whole... Oh, I'm so glad to see you.
Meet everyone in the class. I remember that. It was always so hard because your kids are staying up late. They have no real schedule during the summertime, and then you have to like get back to it, and it's rough.
I've noticed that my phone is being weird, and like I said it, but it's not that loud, and I keep going back and I'm resetting it to like a really loud noise, and I think my body's just like, any noise you give to me at 6 a.m. is not gonna do
I'm
shit.
not getting up. Have you tried? I have one that will go off with lights too. Like it will make the room brighter, and that will wake you up.
I just need Wreck-It Ralph
to come and like bang on your head.
Yeah. I don't know what I need, but it is not noise.
When I was in high school, I almost didn't graduate because I was so good at sleeping through my alarms, and I missed my first period all the time. I just would sleep right through it. It would probably go off, be part of my dream. I was probably dancing in my dream to whatever was going off.
And I am almost 40, but my mother has tried calling me 4 days in a row at like 6 a.m.
Oh, to help?
And I keep forgetting to call her and say thank you for trying because it's at 6 a.m. and then I have to start work. But she keeps trying. She keeps waking up at like a certain time, and she's like, I'm going to call my daughter. And then I don't answer.
And then
it's
you
not
get
working.
into your 40s like me, and I'm now wide awake some mornings at 5 a.m. for no fucking reason because hormones.
I want to be that way.
I don't, because I'm still up till midnight, so I'm just getting 5 hours of sleep when I need a lot
I never
more.
sleep, but I would still appreciate a natural alarm instead of me fighting it.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck.
If it doesn't happen, you know, I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, fuck school.
That was where my kid was at the end of last year.
You know what? She's only going into 5th grade though, but
you got a long way to go.
I have a long way to go, but I'm already like, fuck school. I see what this country does to everybody. And I'm someone with multiple degrees. Like, don't take it one way or another.
Right.
I'm not just someone who's like, oh, yeah, fuck school, and I haven't done anything. I've done it all. But I am seeing my daughter being stressed out to oblivion.
Not cool. Yeah.
And she does go to one of those schools where she has to get into it. So she's a smarty pants. I wish that her best friends were not at the school so that I could go throw her in an art school, because I don't want to redo what I did in my life for her. Like, she's not me. She's a little Leo. She's
a performative arts. And
exactly.
I think there are some schools in Boulder, because my youngest went to it, and it was more performative arts, and they had the coolest electives. And so they were still getting like, you know, their math and their science, but they were doing it in an artistic way.
And that's what helped. I want. It's never been my goal to make sure, oh, she's the smartest girl in the class. It's just that she was in the beginning. That was the nicest school where we lived. I thought it was putting her into a unique
it's
school.
Gifted, talented.
Right? But they're stricter than anything I've ever even experienced, to be honest. I got an email today saying, you cannot change your homeroom classes. They are set in stone. But yet my daughter was placed in the same class with her bully, which we have dealt with for 3 years. And the majority of the bully situations are in class. And she has like a little group of kids who laugh at my daughter for any way she like looks, smells, breathes, whatever. No matter what she does, they make fun and they giggle and they do all the things. And for some reason, she just doesn't like my kid. And they know about this. And I'm like, you just forgot about my daughter. That sucks. Someone who knew about this situation would never put them in the same class together.
No.
So now I have to fight that. And I just feel like I'm getting closer to pulling her out of this school, and she's not going to like it.
It will be hard at first. She's a Leo. She will make new friends, and it could be better than ever before because they don't have the history, and they're hitting that age where it's going to get even worse.
Yeah, and she does go to one of those schools where it's kindergarten through 12th grade.
I don't like
and
that
that's
at all.
A lot of everybody together. You know?
I don't like that at all. That's one thing I loved about when I was growing up. It's like you got to move from elementary to junior high and meet all new people. And then high school, same thing. And my kids got to do that because they were just in regular public school. And I think it serves them better. Like staying from kindergarten to 12th grade with the same people, like shoot me. I would not want to be around the same people.
I have been done with this school 4 years ago. But again, it's my daughter's best friends, and I'm not going to rip her away from something that is a comfort, but it's also her source of anxiety. So it's
she
like
will
this
grow
weird
so much.
balance.
I have a very different perspective because I grew up in a military town and I had to make new friends every single year, and I moved schools multiple times, and my kids did it too. And I think it makes them more flexible as they get older. So I don't ask me for my opinion because I would have already ripped her out of it and been like, you can make new friends. You can still hang out with them, but you know, you're not stuck every single day in that cycle. It becomes mean girl cycle.
Well, I think
allow that.
What she's trying to wait out, because she's going into 5th grade, is to see the shift that might happen in 6th grade.
But they're not leaving to a new school,
But they're
right?
not. But her bully friends aren't going to be the cream of the crop anymore. They're going to be the smaller people.
But are they in the same school? It's still the same group?
It's still the same group, but they're going to be against much older kids. They literally move into a building they've never been in before.
Okay, so they do kind of go
So
to
there is a shift, and she's kind of waiting to see, okay, well, is my bully going to actually matter next year?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think a lot of people, at least in our country, are getting back to school, and a lot of people can relate to
absolutely.
having, you know, situations with their kids at school. And we did it too. And we moved on.
And learned from it.
In the moment, our kids, it's everything.
It's their whole world, for
It's
sure.
everything to them.
Well, to segue into what I'm talking about today, since you're mentioning bully, we're going to talk about the worst kind of bullies today, and that is parents who hurt their children.
Who are you? We're literally talking about protecting our children and the fact that people intentionally harm their children.
So I will say, trigger warning on this episode, it is going to have a lot of details that you may not want to listen to. We're discussing child abuse, torture, and neglect. But if you do stay around, this is a well-recognized story. It's the Turpin family. It's probably one of the worst cases of abuse that has happened in the U.S.
At least known in the media.
This one was brought out quite loudly when it happened.
And it was because of the way in which one of the daughters sought help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we'll go into all of it. This was a case that shocked the world. It was a story of unspeakable abuse hidden behind the facade of a large, seemingly normal family. Once again, what is happening inside a real life house of horrors? I feel like we say that every month because there are so many fucking house of horrors. So the story begins with David Allen Turpin and Louise Anna Turpin, two names that for years meant little to the outside world, yet within the walls of their homes, and they lived in various places throughout their relationship, they held absolute tyrannical power over their 13 children. So David Allen Turpin was born on October 17th, 1961, and there is not a lot out there about his early life, his family, what he came from. We know that he was raised very religious and he was very smart. He graduated from high school and went straight to Virginia Tech and graduated with a degree in electrical and computer engineering in 1984.
He looks like the uncle of someone in Lord of the Rings.
Because of his haircut.
Yeah.
Or he looks like the guy from Shrek, like the Lord, whatever his name was.
Exactly, Lord Farquaad.
Yes.
I said Farquaad. I said
Farquaad.
Fart quad. I don't know.
He looks, he is not an attractive man. Although I did see pictures of David and Louise when they got married and they were younger. And I guess all of us are attractive when we're younger, but he is not a good looking man now.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't say he was like hot or anything, but he looked much better and had a decent haircut.
Okay.
Yeah. Hair can make a huge difference.
Massively.
Now, Louise Ann Robinette was born May 24th, 1968. So she was 7 years younger than David. It will come out later via a sister of Louise that the girls in their family did suffer from sexual abuse while they were young. It was not shared what family member was causing the abuse, but her sister did say it was someone very close to the family and that almost all of the girls in her family experienced it.
This is the mom when she was young.
This is the mom, okay. Louise, when she was young. So while that never excuses it,
never.
She came from trauma is all I'm going to experience. And I don't think that it didn't come out right when the story first broke that Louise had this in her background, but her sister stepped forward like 3 or 4 years afterward to share that this may be what drove Louise to have other disorders that could have caused her to abuse her children as greatly as she does.
Sure. But the moment you say 13, you had 1, you had 2, you had 3, you had 4, you had 5, you had 6, blah, 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 chances to do it right. You can't. That is but like 1 degree of an excuse that you can give someone. We can only excuse people and like appreciate their journey from going beyond that. Truly.
Yes. Because so many people are abused, unfortunately, in this world and rise above it.
Yep.
But I think what happened here is that she met David. And everything I saw online said that they met each other at Princeton High School, which was in Princeton, West Virginia. But they had a large age gap. They had a 7-year age gap.
What?
So they did not go to school together. They would not have been. And Louise was only 15 when they started dating. He was 22.
He was prowling.
Exactly. So that makes my alarm bells go off as well. So she has sexual trauma, we now know, and this predatory man, in my opinion. A 22-year-old should never be looking at a 15-year-old. I'm just
thinking exactly about Fred and Rose West right now.
Yeah. Everything I saw just kind of skimmed over that fact, but I'm pointing it out. But the couple did go on to marry in Parisburg, Virginia in 1985. At that point, David was 23 years old and Louise was only 16. Now, the reason we think they got married this young is because they were both from a very strict Pentecostal religion. I have been in that religious world, and I do think, and this was the 1980s, that they thought it was okay for teenage girls to marry men in their 20s. I don't fucking know, but this is already just gross to me. Louise's parents, James and Betty Robinette, expressed some concerns about David's controlling nature towards their daughter. But like so many people back then, they just dismissed it. And they're like, oh no, it's their husband and wife now. This is what God wants. And it was rationalized and nobody stepped in to help Louise out of a situation that probably wasn't good from the very beginning.
Because he's Lord Farquaad.
He wasn't yet, but yeah.
I mean, he was a young one.
He hadn't found his
hair
bowl
bangs.
Cut. Yeah, his bowl cut skills yet. So David did get a job as an electrical engineer working for places such as Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. So I would assume he was making a decent living. So the Turpins considered themselves to be Pentecostal Christians. I also saw in a couple of places that they were part of the Quiverful movement, which is all about procreation and having as many kids as possible to glorify God.
I don't think any movement should have the word quiver in it.
It's like quiverful, like
I don't
arrows.
care. Quiver? No.
A full quiver. So in my first job in my 20s, I worked with several families that were part of this movement, and they all had a dozen or more children. They lived off the grid, and they were very strict with their religious beliefs. The kids never went to school. They were all homeschooled. And I can tell you that I would always meet the wives because, of course, the husbands were the ones buying from our company at the time. And I would meet their wives at like conventions, and they all looked like worn out because they had 13 kids, and the man was out, you know, making money and doing everything. And she was at home having to homeschool and teach all these kids and pop out babies every 2 years.
Oh my God.
So, but because of these beliefs, they would begin having babies in 1988. So he at least gave her a few years. She, you know, got to grow into actually being of age before she had babies. So she was 19. She wouldn't stop having babies until 2015. She had 13 kids over that time. Constantly, your body's just in and out of postpartum. And then as soon as your body heals, you're getting pregnant again.
It's hard not to judge the mom because we do have stories like Rose West. And it hasn't been long enough to psychoanalyze her specifically.
As a woman who had babies young at 21, I can't imagine having babies starting at 19 and not stopping until you were like 44 years old.
That's crazy.
She had her last baby basically at the same age I am now and has been having babies since she was 19. I think that would be mentally draining on any person.
Absolutely.
So I'm not in any way excusing her behavior, but we do have to look at like some of these things. And I do think that he was very controlling and probably broke her because he married her at 16. She was very susceptible to whatever he wanted.
Yeah. And this is interesting because we were talking before we started this episode that I know of this family. A lot of people do because it was kind of a shock story that came out several years ago. And I didn't think of her that way.
Because when you see them, they're in their 40s and 50s and you're just like, oh, they're horrible monsters.
Horrible.
But everybody is a human to begin with. So let's talk about why she would have gotten there. I don't have any reason for him to have been there.
No, but it does put a more human side to her. That doesn't excuse everything. But we have had these stories before where we have to have grace for people who were in themselves victims. It's psychological.
So during this time, the Turpins would move frequently, living in various locations, starting out in Fort Worth, Texas, Marietta, California, before finally settling in Paris, California in 2014. And that's where the house will be found with this abusive situation. But with each move, their family would grow, eventually reaching 13 children, 10 girls, and 3 boys. The sheer size of their family often garnered attention, but outwardly they presented a picture of devout, homeschooled Christians. They were known to attend church services, albeit sporadically, and would even dress their children in matching outfits. They would maintain a meticulous veneer of normalcy. But behind closed doors, a nightmare was unfolding.
Let me say, 10 girls wearing the same outfit, that is not normal. Twins wearing the same outfit, that is normal. Dressing all of your children in the same outfit, to me, that is psychosis. And to me, that is, you don't give a shit about your children as individual human beings. Twins, it's cute. Triplets, also cute. The rest, absolutely not.
It reminds me of the cult that you covered, The Family.
Exactly.
Because they were all in the same outfit,
exactly.
the same haircuts.
There is nothing cute about that. There is nothing normal about that.
It's very
So if
eerie.
people saw their kids at least regularly in that way, that's something to be concerned about, I would say.
Agreed. The severe abuse really began when the family moved to Rio Vista, Texas in 2007 with 10 of their children. The other 3 had not been born yet. And they moved into an isolated trailer on many acres of land. So they were away from anybody, which is always ripe for abuse.
Yep.
What was so fucked up about this situation is that David and Louise would take the 2 youngest children with them because they were like baby's age, and they left the other 8 children all alone in this trailer, and they were going off on adventures. And we have videos of this, and there are pictures of David and Louise out having the time of their lives, living in motels, going to ride. They were out like riding mechanical bulls. They were going to various locations, Vegas, and like having like a newlywed.
They weren't just going to a restaurant to eat dinner. They were leaving the state.
They were going all over the place.
Oh my God.
And they left the other 8 children to fend for themselves. They would make sure they got groceries on a weekly basis, but it was never enough to feed everybody. One of their daughters, Jordan Turpin, she is the one that will come out and become the hero of this, but she was 6 years old at the time, and she recalled that there was a lot of starving during this trailer house, and she had resorted to eating ketchup or mustard or ice. She also recalls eating grass and leaves because her stomach hurt so bad from the hunger. Jennifer Turpin is the other one that is out there. There are only 2. I will go ahead and preface this. So of the 13 children, there are only 2 children that have ever come forward publicly.
Right.
The rest, we don't even know their names or ages.
They're on social media as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about them later. So Jennifer, the oldest, was left in charge while the parents were not there, and she was instructed to keep her siblings in cages. They would come and check on them, and they could tell like if she wasn't following their instructions, and she was so afraid of her parents that she would not dare disobey them. So she did put her siblings in the cages as they were supposed to be.
What?
Nobody knew any of this was going on because the neighbors were all far away. Nobody realized that there were 8 kids literally living there alone with no parental supervision.
I guess their moving was intentional because any other place would have questioned why their children aren't in school.
There's going to be a lot of questions in this story because if things really had played out the way it should have, there should have been many people at various different locations that they moved to saying, why aren't these kids in school?
Exactly. Can you just like move to another state and then no one even knows that you live there now and just keep your kids out of school? That's a scary thought. I like actually need to know the answer to that.
There is no answer except for they were let down by the system. After the family left this Rio Vista property in 2010, so the kids were there for 3 years, essentially living on their own while their parents were acting like newlyweds. The neighbors went in and they found feces and beds with ropes tied to them, along with dead cats, probably stray cats that got into the house, and piles of garbage. There are pictures when we get further along in this story of what the insides of their houses look like. And it's like the worst episode of Hoarders that you could watch on TV. And it was mostly garbage. So the Turpin children, as I mentioned, Jordan saying she was starving, they were severely malnourished. Food was used as a weapon. It was never something that was openly offered to any of the children. But what is so fucked up about it is that David and Louise, they would eat regular substantial meals. And this is after they moved out of Rio Vista. I skipped over something here. The family moved to California. And at that point, David and Louise, they started having more babies. They had 3 more kids and they did not travel. They actually stayed at home with their kids at this point. He probably had a different kind of job. I'm not real sure all the details, but they would stock the fridge completely with all the food they wanted. And they would sit there and eat food right in front of all 13 kids. The kids would be given maybe some food every day. They said a lot of times they would get half a sandwich or a bag of chips, and that would be all they would get to eat for the day.
Wow.
They would also ration out this half a sandwich or the bag of chips throughout the day and force them to eat it at unusual times. So they might give the kids 2 chips at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you get another couple chips at 2 p.m. And sometimes they would skip days altogether and the kids would get no food. They would also bring home tempting treats like pies and cookies, donuts, and they would show them to the kids and be like, doesn't this smell good? Look how good this is. And then they're like, if you touch them, you will be punished. They would also go and get like McDonald's and Pizza Hut and all of this fast food that smelled really good and have it there for the kids and let them watch the parents eat it. They just used it as a form of control and the kids were powerless to do anything. It's just really, really cruel.
How the fuck do people like this have children again and again? I feel like if you're going to have more than 7, there should be some kind of check on you.
In an interview with Jennifer Turpin, the oldest daughter, she brings up that her parents used the Bible to justify their actions against the kids. They would read verses from Deuteronomy mostly, which stated that parents had the right to even kill wayward children. They used it to show the kids they deserve the punishments that they were giving them because they were being obstinate, and that if they would just obey and be good little kids, then they wouldn't have to punish them as harshly as they did. It's just this whole spare the rod, spoil the child that I grew up under and Christians have used for generations to condone spanking children even, and worse. So many parents who buy into this very strict religious ideology believe that they have to raise their kids in a very harsh way so that they will be good little Christian soldiers to God. We know these kids are literally wasting away and starving. And now I do have to talk about the physical abuse. It was just as horrifying. The children were beaten with belts, paddles, or bare hands for minor infractions, basically for anything that the parents deemed was disobedient. But the most chilling punishment involved being chained up. If a child misbehaved, they would be chained literally to their beds with shackles, sometimes for weeks or even months at a time. They would be forced to relieve themselves where they were chained. They would not be let go to the bathroom. And they were living in their own filth. You can imagine what that would feel like. Imagine the degradation and the physical and emotional toll this would take on a growing child. Hygiene was virtually non-existent for the children. They were rarely allowed to shower or brush their teeth. Their clothes were often filthy and in absolute disrepair. Once again, this would be in stark contrast to David and Louise, who always presented a clean and well-kept appearance to the outside world, wearing new clothing, washed, smelling good, clean hair. They looked like normal people. But the deliberate deprivation of basic human dignity was just another layer of their abuse towards their children. I saw pictures of some of these shirts and pants that the kids were wearing. Like one was a Hello Kitty shirt, and you could barely see the Hello Kitty on it because it was just caked with dirt.
Unimaginable.
There's no words for what this did to these children, but they have literally no choice.
And we only know the reality of the two little girls who have come forward. There's so many more of them who have not told their stories.
And probably never will. Now, Jennifer is the oldest. She's not the one who will escape eventually, but she is one of them that is out there, and she is the eldest child of all of them. And I'm going to talk about her now because I want to talk about the education of the kids. The Turpins, the reason that the state never came after them looking for these kids is because they registered a homeschool. It was like an incorporated homeschool.
Okay.
They knew enough. I mean, he was an engineer. He's not a stupid guy. He didn't want to get caught. So they knew how to beat the system by saying that they were religious and that they were homeschooling their children, which a lot of people in this quiverful movement do. The government doesn't want to step on anybody's toes when it comes to religion. And so these kids were really just left alone because of that.
It's fucked up. I also understand there are lines we cannot cross, right? If we want both these worlds, you know?
Yeah.
What sucks though is they sure don't mind prodding into our lives if our children are in public or private schools, but they do not try to prod into the lives of people who homeschool. And those are actually the scarier ones if you think about it, because those people have an agenda.
Yes, there's a reason they're not taking their kids to public school.
I will say there are plenty that I do know who are like, fuck school agendas as far as like the academic curriculum goes, and I want to do it better. It's just people have other agendas and not for the good reasons. It is a selfish reason why they don't want their children to be in any school, private or public.
So that's what the Turpins were doing. They were claiming to homeschool their children, but the reality was they weren't at all. The children had minimal access to books or learning materials. They were largely uneducated, unaware of basic facts even about the world, because they also were never allowed to leave their home. We'll see this play out when Jordan Turpin, she is the girl that will escape eventually at 17 years old. And when the cops are asking her questions, she doesn't know basic words. They're asking her if she's injured, and she's like, what does that mean? And she's talking about her brothers and sisters being chained up and that they have something on their wrist. She didn't know the word bruise. They asked if she's taking medication. She didn't know what medication was. So they did not know anything. They didn't know basic history. They didn't know geography. They all talk, or at least we know Jennifer and Jordan talk with very different kind of dialect, because they didn't even learn basic phonics, letters. Right. And she talks about how when they lived in this trailer, the 8 kids basically just took whatever books they could find and taught themselves, because what else were they going to do all day? Their world was entirely confined to the Turpin household, and their parents were the sole purveyors of what truth was. They knew nothing else. They had no access to the outside world. They were not able to watch TV. They were so in this little bubble. Like, I just can't imagine the amount of mind fuckery that was going on in these poor kids.
It is heartbreaking what children experience in these closed off families.
So one of the saddest interviews I saw came with Jennifer Turpin. Once again, she's the eldest child. She was 29 years old when she escaped her house. She lived for 29 years under, I don't think most people realize this. And she went through the most of it because she was the oldest. Now, she recalls getting to go to school because she was the firstborn and her parents started that way. They were going to let her go to school. But she talked about how disgusting their house was and that she had to wear clothes to school that were never washed. She wasn't allowed to bathe. And she said she tried to make friends at school and nobody wanted to hang out with her. And she didn't understand why. She does now. In retrospect, she's like, I probably smelled absolutely horrible. She was like, our house was covered in garbage that was molding. So even if you did wash the clothes, she's like, that smell doesn't come out. She would be the only Turpin child that ever went to school. And she thinks it's probably because teachers began noticing that something was amiss in her home life.
What?
And probably turned her into CPS. And at one point, by third grade, she was ripped out of school. And from then on, no other children of the Turpins would attend public school again.
Did they move states?
This was before they moved to the trailer in Rio Vista. So she was born in Fort Worth. This was the beginning of it. They realized that, oh, okay, it's going to get out there if we send our kids to public school.
That is 12 more children that went unnoticed.
They move so often that it just never got caught.
Does she never have any birthing complications?
I didn't see anything. For all I know, she did home births. I don't know anything about like birth certificates and all of that and how they tracked these children. It does make you wonder. Sleep was also controlled. The children were often forced to stay awake throughout the night and sleep during the day, further disorienting them and isolating them from any normal routines. This disrupted sleep cycle was another tactic to maintain control and prevent them from having any semblance of a normal life. It's like their parents just were looking for every possible way to make them miserable. And they must have been getting some kind of delight out of it, some sadistic,
I think so,
something. Now, the outside world would never really see this if they did come around. The Turpins were masters of deception. When visitors would come over, which was rare, but the children would always be hidden away, sometimes even locked in their rooms, probably chained to their beds. When they did interact with outsiders, they were coached on what they could and could not say, and their answers were often robotic and rehearsed. David and Louise were meticulous in maintaining this facade. They would even take their children to Disneyland and Las Vegas, and these are two of the main pictures you will see out there of the Turpin family. It would look like a normal, I put normal in quotations because like Jessica said, they're all dressed in the same outfits. There are only two pictures out there. So the one at Disney wouldn't raise any alarms. Kids dress alike at Disney all the time. And then the other one was in Las Vegas, and this was when they renewed their vows. And once again, nobody's going to question that because they're all in the cute little dresses like bridesmaids. And then the boys are in their little suits. But a lot of people say if you look into it further, it's like the kids being dressed in all matching outfits or is almost like they were just little props for the parents. And the entire time they were out and anyone talked to them, you could tell that they were just like looking to their parents the whole time, like, what can I say? What can I not say? And in an interview with Jordan and Jennifer, they showed them that video in Vegas of the parents renewing their vows. And this is a big one out there. And the parents are like singing. I think they had Elvis there. All the kids are dancing and everybody looks happy. If you look really close, every single one of the kids looks emaciated. Nobody realized what ages all of these kids should be.
Yeah.
Because you've got kids in this video, like Jennifer was probably 22 years old at the time. She looks 12.
Crazy.
So
yeah,
nobody thought anything of it. They just thought it was all these, little cute kids and they were acting excited. Jennifer and Jordan said they were excited because this was the first time in years they got to leave the house and they got to wear clean clothes. Their mom let them shower. Yeah. They had clean hair. This was one of their happiest memories of their entire life. So of course they look happy.
Right.
In a really sad part of the interview, like they both start crying and Jordan's like, I just remember thinking, why can't our life always be like this?
Yeah. It just reminds me of the Hart family.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Because those kids also looked younger than they were supposed to be.
And they were much younger looking. Yeah.
Yeah, because without proper nutrition, you don't grow.
No, very sad.
The Turpins would even create a family YouTube channel where they would post videos of their children singing all the time.
I hate this shit.
And these videos show a seemingly happy, albeit kind of unusual family because, there's 13 kids, but people write that off. They're like, oh, they're just weirdly religious, right? It's pretty chilling to watch in retrospect, knowing how abused these children were and you're watching them singing. And the girls, Jennifer and Jordan, still love singing, and they talk about that being one thing that all the siblings would do together.
Good.
To like help each other, because they're like chained together in a room, and so they would sing, and like that was their like one little glimmer of hope. So the children would sing gospel songs, and they always had these like forced smiles while they were singing it. It was just another carefully curated illusion designed to present a picture of a normal religious family.
They don't have a choice. They're going to be abused if they don't do it.
I mean, they're going to be abused either way. At least this was once again a time when they could take a shower. Also on the psychological abuse front, Louise would spend tons and tons of money every month hoarding children's beautiful clothing, brand new, games, and toys. They were all over the house, but none of the kids were allowed to touch them. It's very similar to the food. It was look at all these wonderful things you could have, but you know what? You're a bad child, so you don't get to eat this, and you don't get to play with these toys. These are only for good children. You're bad children. So messed up. And they knew if they ever touched any of it, there would be dire consequences. And, you know, you're going to be chained to your bed for months this time if you touched that Barbie doll. So how did this reign of terror finally come to an end? The hero in this story is 17-year-old Jordan Turpin, who we've talked about a few times on here since she is the most outspoken of the children now. She had been putting a plan together for over 2 years to escape.
It's wild that it can take that long. It's like Jamie Clausen, you know, it took her a while.
I mean, what else do you do when you're in a captive situation? You're thinking, how do I get out of this? So you have time to plot. There was an old deactivated cell phone. And when I saw this, I was like, how did the kids have access to a cell phone?
Right.
And turns out that there was one point when the parents wanted to go off again, you know, pretend like they didn't have children and live their like newlywed life. And they had given a cell phone to one of the oldest boys. And the whole reason they gave the cell phone is so that they could check in and make sure that they were continuing to torture their siblings while they were gone. So very similar to when they lived in the trailer.
Right.
They just, I guess, forgot that he still had that cell phone. It was deactivated. So when they got back, they turned the cell phone service off, or maybe he snuck it away. However, it happened. The kids did have this one cell phone, and they had been able to connect it to Wi-Fi, and they had been using it and watching YouTube videos.
Aww.
She learned through these YouTube videos that you can actually use a deactivated cell phone to call 911.
That's awesome.
And it's really cool also when you listen to her talk. They would spend time whenever they could, if their parents weren't around and they could, I don't know if their parents were sleeping or whatever, they would watch Justin Bieber videos specifically.
Yeah, I remember that actually, like in an interview.
Yeah, and she talks about how like he was her inspiration, and why she now, we'll talk about her a little bit later, but why she likes to do dance videos so much on TikTok is just because Justin Bieber, she feels like really got her through some dark times. And then she listened to his interviews, and then her and her siblings would also watch YouTube videos to figure out how to talk properly.
Yeah.
And how to say things, because they didn't really know much at all about the outside world. She got a hold of this deactivated cell phone, and she was working with a 13-year-old sister who was not named. The 13-year-old was going to be like her lookout so that she could crawl out of a window in the middle of the night and run somewhere to call 911. So that's exactly what she did on January 14th of 2018. And there's video of this out there.
Yep.
You can see her fall out the window and start running as fast as she can. And she says when she watches that video now, she doesn't even know how she had the mental or physical capability to run. She's like, I had spent 17 years inside of a house. I'd never run in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Which you don't even think about that. They're literally, some of them chained to their beds. And if they're not, they're still cramped in this like hoarder style home. And she was like, I'm really impressed at how fast I could run. And she's like, that just speaks to how badly I wanted to get out of there. And she also knew that if her parents heard her and they caught her, she felt like they would have killed her.
Yeah.
She was running for her life, literally. And she ran down the street around a corner, and that's where she called 911. You can listen to this. I don't have it to play here, but she has this very shaky voice, and she just starts speaking as fast as possible. She's not really coherent at first. The 911 operator's like, okay, calm down, talk to me. And she's just saying, I just escaped my parents. Me and my siblings are being abused. I have 12 brothers and sisters. They're literally chained to the bed. And the 911 operator quickly realizes that this is not just a normal like runaway story or whatever. And she also notices that Jordan is talking with a very different kind of cadence.
Right.
And they start asking her questions like, is anyone injured? And she's like, what does that mean?
I I know. Yep. The medication thing.
Yep.
Always
And then they
gets to
ask
me.
the medication and she's like, I don't know what that is. So they realize something's very wrong here. And the 911 operator calls a deputy and tells him where she's at. And that's the other thing. They ask her for her address and she had run out with a bill, like a light bill or something. She starts reading the address and she doesn't know what an address is. So she gives them just the zip code.
Aww.
And she's like, no, honey, like there should be like a name of a street in there. And so then she just starts reading everything else and they finally figure out where she's at.
That's just wild. She did everything she could. She's just like, well, I don't know what this is, but I can give you the information. Like, I'm going to figure it out.
So one Riverside County Sheriff's deputy arrived first, and he quickly realized when he met her that she was very afraid. She was very filthy, just caked in filth and smelly. And she told him, she's like, this is how me and my siblings look. We only get to bathe once a year. And then she's like, we're chained to beds. And he was like, do you have a picture? And she actually did have pictures on that phone that they had taken. And she showed him the pictures of some of her siblings chained to a bed. And he realized he needed backup. So he called more detectives to go to the house with him. He put Jordan in the back of his car because he knew that she did not want to go anywhere near the house. She was shaking and trembling. She told him that my parents will kill me if they come out here. They'll kill you if they find you. Like she was really giving him the idea of how dangerous it was. So he put her in the back of his car and then they all showed up at 160 Muir Woods Road and knocked on the door. And it took a long time for anyone to answer. They noticed while standing outside waiting, it had a stench even outside to the house. When the door finally opened, and there is videos of this that was released, I think in 2023, the body cam videos.
Yeah, I remember
from
this.
the police. It's eye-opening to watch because you'll see them walk through the whole house. You'll see like what the conditions looked like, and you'll see the children that were being abused and chained to the beds. David and Louise answer the door and they look frazzled. Like they've been running around and she's trying to play it off and she's like, oh, we just woke up. I'm sorry. We didn't hear you. And they're like, well, we're doing a welfare check. And so we have the right to come into the house now. Louise is like, who did you get a call from? And the deputy's like, that doesn't matter. We got a call and we have substantial evidence that tells us that there might be children in harm's way inside of your house right now. And there's nothing you can do when there's a 911 call. That's a welfare check like this.
Yeah.
They can come in without a warrant.
Okay.
So for safety reasons, because of domestic abuse or child abuse, like I don't love the idea of cops being able to just come in your house.
For Jordan, just how brave, because if they had seen that she had run out or were aware of it at all, who knows? What if they had just decided to kill everybody when she ran out, you know?
And we know that people have come to their house before and they were able to hide the kids in some way. But when you see this body cam footage and you see the conditions of the house, like, I don't know how anyone would go in there and think that it was a functioning family.
They just let themselves go, obviously, a little bit.
And I guess I don't judge people's houses. Like, you know, if you go in and it's dirty or whatever, you're like, they have 13 kids. Of course it's dirty. But this was like another level of dirty. The deputies say they were shocked at just the smell of human waste. It just reeked. And it smelled like decay everywhere because I think I mentioned earlier when Jennifer was saying that they just threw garbage everywhere and then it would just be like rotting food. There were containers all over in the body cam footage of just like empty McDonald's cartons, empty pizza boxes, like just
And
disgusting.
This was all food that they didn't get to eat, just the parents.
Exactly. And if the kids got caught, they would be, you know, severely punished. The house was also really dark inside. Like there was no lights or all of the window blinds were drawn. So it was just like this cave-like smelly. I can't even imagine.
I have been in a hoarder home before.
Oh yeah.
And I was not allowed past the living room. And there was just like a path that went somewhere else. And I can't remember if I smelled something, but I was also like a new mom. So I don't know if all my senses were just off, but I have been in one and it's very sad. It's quite the scene.
I just can't imagine that. While they were walking through the house, it was hard to even find children because it was so cluttered, but they did come into a room and there were two, what they thought, very young girls chained to the beds.
Ugh.
There were other children that were not chained that were just sitting on other like bunk beds and everything. And they could tell that they were all very underweight, severely underweight. They were pale. The one that they saw chained to the bed, they said they believe she was probably like 10 to 11 years old. She was actually 29-year-old Jennifer Turpin.
Oh my God. That's just so wild. It's so wild.
I can't imagine. She was taken out, and when she got to the hospital, she only weighed 82 pounds.
Wow.
At 29. They found another 12-year-old child. I don't know if it was a boy or a girl that was in a different room, also chained to the bed. And the arm that was chained was the size of a 4-month-old.
Oh my God.
They could tell that the children were absolutely terrified, starving. They were filthy. They showed very clear signs of both physical and psychological abuse. None of them wanted to talk to the cops. They were just in a whole nother state.
It is amazing that none of these children died.
You're right. Like,
yeah,
that you can keep a human on the brink of existence with just enough food and a little bit of water.
She was 29. That's crazy.
I just can't imagine living 29 years in this. Jennifer is the one that my heart aches for the most in this story. They immediately knew David and Louise were a threat to these children, and they arrested them. David was 56 and Louise was 49. The 13 children that were taken from the home that day ranged in age from just 2 years old all the way up to Jennifer, who was 29. I believe there was 3 of them that were above 18. So they had 3 adults and 10 children. The fact that they were keeping their children even after adulthood is pretty fucked up.
Oh yeah, because they would leave and
tell everyone what was going on. So they were taken to a local hospitals for urgent medical care. Their physical condition was dire. They were severely malnourished, and some of them had such wasting of their muscles that they could not even walk. They suffered from heart damage, liver damage, and other long-term health issues directly attributed to the abuse and starvation. The investigation that followed revealed the full extent of the horror that was happening in this house. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture of calculated cruelty. This wasn't just normal abuse. They found journals in the Turpins' bedroom where they were keeping a score in a way. They were record keeping every single transgression, and I put that in quotations, that their children were making and how they were punishing them for it. This just reveals like how twisted their minds were. And it goes back to what Jennifer was saying about how they used the Bible against the kids, and they thought they were raising their kids to be good humans. I don't know. Like there's no explaining this.
You're not letting them leave the house. What's the point of even being alive? Like,
and if they look at your food when you're sitting there eating McDonald's, then you're going to strike them down and give them a punishment for, you know, being hungry and wanting a bite of a chicken nugget or something. Like those are the kinds of things that they were punishing their children for. And trying to fathom what was going on in their minds is something psychologists have tried to work through since this case came to light. Really, there's no explanation for it, and they have not been able to pinpoint, and Louise and David don't really talk much.
It's just these situations in which 2 monsters come together. I mean, yeah, one might have not been a monster to begin with and was turned, but you are an adult, and if you can keep up with it for 13 children for 30 years, you're not innocent anymore.
There is, I think here in a minute we'll talk about that, like there is the chance that Louise was, you know, a victim of David. You know, David could be the one that warped her brain, but she went along with it, like you said, for at least 30 years.
She had every opportunity to tell someone.
Right.
She had baby after baby after baby.
Experts have tried to understand what the motivation behind it would be. It really just seems like this need for sadistic cruelty or a very warped sense of religion.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that out there.
And the darkest part of it all is that while children can be abused by any number of people, we unfortunately have to talk about that quite often on here. Parents are overwhelmingly the likeliest offender to abuse a child.
Yep.
72% of child abuse or neglect cases occur at the hands of their own parents, which is really sad because basic empathy and caring for your offspring should be something that is like a fundamental piece of humanity.
I know.
But there are many people out there having children that don't have these basic values. And I don't understand why they have children. And in this case, why you would continue to keep having children if you know you don't want to care for them.
Then we have to look at their lives growing up, and it goes back and back and back because this is a fairly new story. We probably won't have those details for a long time.
We only just now know because Louisa's sister came out in the last couple of years that she was abused.
Yeah.
We still don't know much about David's background
Right.
and how he was raised. I'm going to attribute a lot of it back, just, my armchair expert opinion, to very strict religion.
And then just twisting it in such a way that it doesn't resemble anything that they probably initially learned in
No,
their
not at all.
religion. It just fits this sick world that they created.
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of the movie Heretic that I watched recently.
Yeah.
He was playing God or whatever in that movie. And I think that religion in the wrong hands is very dangerous. It warps their minds in this way where it gives them a way to rationalize horrible actions.
That's why some congregations, some of these pastors are scary. Just like Pastor Copeland. That guy is a straight up demon. He is possessed, but yet he has a massive following. And I'm like,
Of other demons?
like
who's
that's what's
following?
scary is people go and sit and just like
Absorb that.
soak this in
I know.
and then go out in the world and have babies.
And they talk about, in a lot of child abuse cases, it will be parents who are addicted to drugs or alcohol, or, they're facing monetary issues, which causes this stress, and they're just like uncontrollably angry about life, and then they strike out. But what's so unique about the Turpin case is that there was no drugs, there was no alcohol, there was no like financial anything. He made good money, and the way that they chose to abuse their children was just in this very cold, slow, intentional way.
Yeah.
And that takes a very different kind of mind to do.
I would say if it wasn't for him finding her and marrying her and getting to have all these children that they could do this to, that he probably would have abducted and
He probably would have been a serial
done
killer.
things to people. Yeah.
Maybe.
He just got lucky. He found a girl that was moldable or just willing to be that evil
Yes.
with him.
Some of the psychologists that have studied this case are wondering if, the parents could have been deeply depressed or bipolar or even schizophrenic. They also talk about that they could have been delusional or paranoid states based on this whole religious idea. Parents may tell themselves that they're protecting their children from the corruption of the outside world. And I know that goes into quite a few people who choose to homeschool.
Yeah.
It may have started out as that, and then they realized that they were overwhelmed with the fact that they had so many children at home 24/7.
And
That's
then you
a
go
lot.
crazy. I mean,
Yes.
like the Hart family.
Oh, yeah. Same
You
thing,
know,
right?
same
Did they
thing.
homeschool
Yeah.
as well? I just think that you are a better parent when you have some space away from your children, when you're around each other, and you're a better partner. If you think about relationships, anything, it's like everyone, too much of a good thing becomes too much. It's
It's overstimulating.
even if you love your children, like I could not have imagined homeschooling my kids 24/7.
No, I can't. No.
I probably would have snapped at them. I would have had no patience.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with 13 kids.
You're being emotionally intelligent and knowing that instead of, oh, well, this is what we're supposed to do. So I'm the woman, so I have to do this.
Yep.
And no, that was shoved down my throat
Oh, with your religion?
with not with my religion,
Oh.
with a previous partner that I
Oh.
should be homeschooling her and
No.
da 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 da. I know what my limit is. I was also the breadwinner, so I had no choice. I
Yes.
couldn't do both, and I didn't trust your ass to do it, right?
No.
No, thank you.
You never hear of, I don't think you ever hear of the men homeschooling kids.
It wouldn't last. He'd be yelling at her for 20 minutes of getting something wrong. That's my point is you can want all those things, but in a lot of cases, it's not safe.
Realistic either.
Like safe for your mind, for their mind.
No.
Like you don't want that. But I also hate the school system at the same time. So it
I
is a
know.
hard place to be.
I get it, yeah. But I also think about like children, it's so much more than just education when they go to
it's
school. They learn
interaction.
the social aspect is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have known kids over the years that were homeschooled or even coming from really strict private schools. And then when they get into public realm, like they're so behind.
But then there's also the
Naive.
argument that, there's a lot of children that we don't have around anymore because of the bullying and because of these standards that they're not meeting, even though they're just children. And,
I know, it's a
just
lot of
life
pressure.
is hard. Being a kid is hard. Being a teenager is hard. And I think we've said it on here a lot of times that we just need you to make it to 18 and then you can be whoever you want to
Yes.
be. I mean, you still can, but it's better on the other side. Like just wait.
So then they talk about the co-conspiratorial nature of this crime because both spouses were equally involved. But initial suspicion fell mostly on David. Usually the husband is the initiator in these kinds of situations, specifically because of the 7-year age difference and the fact that he married her when she was only 16 years old. He had a lot of sway over her. There's no way we can deny that. He was also the principal wage earner in the household. She was never allowed to work, so he had all the control over the money too.
Yeah, I do see that.
So many will try and empathize with Louise for that reason. They're like, maybe she was just, drinking the Kool-Aid that he was giving her. But other experts are like, no, we're not giving Louise even a small pass just based on how horrible this child abuse was. And they also bring up the fact that statistically, mothers are very often the perpetrators and initiators of abuse as well. It's not always the father. And there are plenty of cases where the women are abusing the man too, which is one of the cases you went, Shelley Notek.
Yeah, and she did that all on her own. He didn't start it.
So we can't just say all men are bad.
No, I mean, we can't. But that's the thing is she's the one that's home with them more. Mm-hmm. She's around them more. The abuse is coming from her. So however it started really doesn't matter.
No.
You abuse them for 30 years. You don't get a pass.
And when you see these people, I hate to judge on appearance, but to me, she has crazy eyes.
Yeah.
Even if she was broken by David when she was 16, because they were married for 4 years before they had children. We don't know what he did to her during those 4 years.
Yeah.
She looks like something is broken inside and her eyes just look empty.
Yeah. Because maybe they are. She's gone. Whoever she was in the beginning isn't there anymore.
And then he looks like, we already said, Lord Farquaad.
Yeah. He looks like he has nothing in his eyes.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. He's gone. He's an empty space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what's up there. So I don't know how he kept a job that
honestly,
long.
I don't know how people were hiring him with that haircut. But
it is cases like this that are just so wild to me, how things go unnoticed or are swept under the rug, or you think they're a little weird and it's just not checked on for 29 years.
Right.
I don't get it.
This should have been caught many times. So the Turpin parents did face a multitude of charges. In February of 2019, David and Louise pled guilty to 14 felony counts, including 1 count of torture, 4 counts of false imprisonment, 3 counts of adult abuse, and 6 counts of child abuse. They agreed to the plea agreement, and that spared the children from having to testify in a lengthy trial against their parents, because that would have been absolutely traumatic for them.
Absolutely.
On April 19th, 2019, David and Louise were sentenced to 25 years in prison. During the sentencing hearing, several of the Turpin children gave impact statements. Most of them were read by their attorneys, but there were a few that spoke directly and bravely to their parents. Jennifer Turpin was one of those that showed up in court.
Is 25 years just the max?
I saw 25 years to life, but then everything else I saw said they only got 25 years.
They should at least get the 29.
I know. I think it's pretty fucked up. And I know in one of the interviews with Jennifer and Jordan, they ask how they feel about the fact that their parents will get out probably while they're still alive.
That's scary.
And they're afraid.
It reminds me of Shelley Notek and how she strung along her daughters when she ended up in jail, and how in the end her abuse was towards elderly people. I see them doing the same thing, cozying up to some elderly person to try and get something because they're going to need somewhere to live and they're going to need money and all of that, or they're going to drag their kids back into the hellhole.
That's scary.
And ask for forgiveness.
Because if you think about it, the youngest was 2 years old.
I know.
And so they'll only be 27 when their parents come out.
Yeah.
And they'll still be susceptible because of all the trauma. Yeah. Well, I guess if they were 2, they had less of it.
It's probably those younger ones who are like 6, 7, 8.
And when you see the interviews, they all call Louise and David just mother and father. There's no like warmth. It's not mom and dad, mommy, daddy. They're just like mother and father. And I'm sure that's what they had them call them because that sounds very biblical.
True.
Yeah, they don't really feel connected to their parents as most kids would, but they still have those trauma bonds. So it's possible for them to pull them back in. So it is scary that they only got 25 years.
Yeah. Although 25 years is a long time when it comes to health. And I don't know if they looked like even they were in the best of health. I don't know.
He'll be 81 by the time he comes out. Hopefully they can't do anything to people at that point.
Hopefully.
or they die in prison. So at the trial, Jennifer Turpin said, "My parents took my whole life from me, but now I'm taking my life back." And she shared her dreams of becoming a software engineer and living an independent life. Other children expressed their hopes for the future, their desire for formal education, and how they would make a journey towards healing. Unfortunately, I would like to say that the Turpin children all went on to lead happy-go-lucky lives, but
I know.
it's a pretty complex story, and I have to share that it wasn't easy for them after. All of the children would spend 2 months in the hospital, and then the minors would be placed into 2 separate foster homes. The adult children were housed in a different facility than the minors, so all of them were kind of separated and not kept together, which I think is really hard.
I think so too. Pretty fucked up, especially when the whole world knew what happened and this is how you handled it.
And I'm going to have to tell more sad details. They also had a really hard time, the adults did, adapting to a world they barely knew. They needed to learn basic life skills. They were not ready to just even go live on their own. They didn't know how to go grocery shopping. They didn't know how to drive. They didn't know how to cross a street.
They didn't know what a street name was. They didn't know what that meant.
Did you ever watch... I think it's called The Impossible Kimmy Schmidt or something. She came from an underground bunker. It was like her and 2 other women. It was a comedy on Netflix years ago.
I haven't watched it.
And it was about these 3 women that were being kept in captivity, and they're rescued, kind of like the Ariel Castro story, but they had been in captivity so long they didn't know the outside world. And so they make it a comedy because it's her trying to like navigate everything. Or it also reminds me of Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do know that one.
Like you just think about that. You come out of this cave essentially, and you know nothing about the outside world. You don't know what's going on. And that's what these children were facing.
Encino Man as well.
Oh yeah, that's another one. I was like, I feel like there's 2.
Brendan Fraser. Yeah.
He liked that storyline, I guess. So in October of 2019, just a few months after they had been rescued from Louise and Dave, 5 of the younger children were adopted by what would turn out to be another abusive family. They made allegations that they were being hit in the face with sandals. They were having their hair pulled, being pulled around by their hair. They were being hit with belts and struck with other objects to their heads. They were also forced to eat excessively because they kept telling them, "You're too thin, you need to eat more." And the kids would eat so much that they would throw up, and then they would force them to eat their own vomit. And the foster father was accused of sexual assault, grabbing and fondling them and making them kiss him on the mouth. The foster family was eventually arrested and charged with this abuse, but it took several years. So these poor children, some of the most vulnerable out there, like you said, everybody knew them, and they were still put into another bad situation. And Jordan talks about this because she was put into an abusive home as well. And she said that the kids were telling people over and over and no one was listening to them.
Oh my God.
And she advocates very heavily around this of just believe children.
Yeah.
When they say this is going on, just check into it, because they didn't. And these poor kids got abused again by the system.
And this happens all the time.
Yes.
That's the scary part. It doesn't matter how much media attention it gets. Because I remember when this happened, there were so many people who were like, "Where's a fund? Let me fund. Can we make sure they go to the right home? Can we keep them together?" The whole world wanted that.
And you bring that up, and I want to talk about in November of 2021, ABC News started doing an investigation, and they were preparing for an interview with Jennifer and Jordan. And while they were investigating, they found out that there was a fund that everyone gave money to, and it was $600,000. And that was supposed to go towards helping the Turpin children, specifically the adults, like get housing, get education, get vehicles so that they could get jobs. And we also find out that the Riverside County Social Services, there was a court-appointed public guardian placed over this trust fund of $600,000. She was stealing money, and she was not giving it to the children. One of them came forward, Joshua Turpin. He's never been on video, but he has spoken like
in court,
whatever. Stuff. He said that he could not even get funds to buy himself a bicycle. There was $600,000 in there, and he could not get a bicycle to be able to get a job. And many of them ended up homeless, living in cars or in bad situations. Jennifer talks about she was put into a situation where she didn't have a place to live, and she went to live with what she thought was a caring boyfriend, and she was raped repeatedly. Like they were all put in these very precarious situations when there was no fucking reason for it, because we had a greedy court appointed person that saw $600,000 and used it to not help these children. That was exposed through this 2020 special.
Is she in jail now?
I didn't see that because they had just been looking into it, and she of course is denying it in Riverside County, and I think it's still tied up in the courts, honestly, because this was back in 2022.
Oh my God.
But the Turpin siblings did get a lawyer, and they filed lawsuits against California's Riverside County Superior Court. So I'm hoping at some point they get that money back.
And look at that. Not only are they having to learn just how to be a human being, now they're having to learn how to sue people.
I
because
know.
people are not treating them right.
Because money corrupts so many people. And I just don't understand how you live with yourself and go to sleep at night knowing that these children who have been horribly abused their entire lives, you're taking the money away from them. Like, what kind of person are you? Like, I just don't get it.
I don't.
And then the abusive family, they did go to court in 2024 is actually how long it took. 3 of the foster parents did end up pleading guilty to the charges of abuse. They were put in jail for 7 years. It was 2 men and 1 woman.
Well, for the one that was sexually assaulting the children as well.
7 years is not enough.
No.
So where is everyone today after all of this? It's still ongoing. We are only 7 years out. So the youngest is now 9.
I know. So much ahead of them.
So much. And then the oldest, Jennifer, is now 36. She has her own TikTok. I was watching several of her videos. I did see that she got married in October of 2024. Her husband's name is Aaron, and they seem really happy.
That's good.
They got married in a very gothic themed ceremony.
Oh, that's sweet.
She's very goth, and I kind of like her vibe, of course.
Yeah.
And they live in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And at their wedding, all 12 of her siblings were there.
That's good.
She chose not to share any photos because many of them, for privacy reasons, are not out there.
Yeah.
When I saw her interview with Diane Sawyer, she was talking about how when they all lived together, that singing and dancing was one of the things that the siblings would do, especially the older ones, to try and cheer up the younger ones, and that she had ambitions of becoming a singer at some point. She wanted to be a Christian singer, but I think she's changed her mind since from what I've seen on her TikTok. She does consider herself to be pansexual, and she is a large advocate for the LGBTQIA causes. And she made a lot of posts during Pride Month this year.
Well, it's good to see them blossoming.
Yes, and becoming their own people.
Yeah.
She's also an advocate for victims of rape, as she does share her story of being hurt by this man right after she, got away from her parents.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what she is doing for work. I know that she went and got her high school diploma, and she was wearing scrubs in several of the videos. So I assume she's working in some kind of healthcare field, but she doesn't share a lot of that, and she doesn't have to.
Yeah.
But you can see her on TikTok. And then the other sister, Jordan, has an even bigger presence on TikTok. She's now 24 years old, and she has become quite a influencer. I don't know what you want to call it. She has 1.3 million followers, and she is now a model. She's absolutely gorgeous.
She is living her best life.
She is.
She really
and
is.
She's been modeling and even been seen in magazines such as Elle. And in an exclusive interview with Today, she just said, "Sometimes it doesn't feel real. I feel so blessed to be free and to be able to try all of the new things that I want to."
And I just want her to stay safe, because she went into an industry that,
oh my goodness, right?
and especially just being behind in life in certain things, it does scare
Just
me
naive.
for her.
Yeah.
I want her to have all of that, but we know the reality.
People prey on that. But she does still have like a very light spirit to her. If you watch her videos, she doesn't take herself seriously. She wants to sing. She wants to dance. And I think it's really cute. She now lives in the Los Angeles area as well. So she's close to Jennifer. They're still very close. And it sounds like all of her siblings are there. And she talks about in this interview that she feels like they're all finally safe.
Good.
She lives in her own apartment, and she talks about just having a stocked refrigerator. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Huge.
And she decorated it with splashes of color everywhere. Her favorite is purple. And then she has many motivational quotes throughout just to remind her.
They came and went through a lot.
And she mentions that all of her 12 siblings are regular overnight guests.
Oh,
so
good.
She's kind of like the mama bear.
Yeah. I mean, I did kind of figure that at some point one of them is going to kind of take over, maybe even fight for custody of their younger siblings at one point.
Yeah.
But it does sound like, at least we hope so, the children are now in a situation where they're allowed to. Their foster parents are welcoming of
it sounds like
the siblings' relationship and everything.
I hope that they're in good homes. And yeah, Jennifer's married now and has a home with, she might be able to take some of those siblings in to live with her. And
it's not the pressure. I just do see, I mean, out of 13 kids, I would see it happening at some point.
In this interview, they're showing all these pictures of her and her different modeling shoots. And she was just like, it just comes natural to me. I like to pose for pictures. She's like, once the camera's on me, I'm ready. And they ask her if she wants her parents to see her modeling photos. And Jordan says, I don't really care. They don't motivate any of my decisions. And she's just focused on inspiring others and not looking at the past or really to her parents. I think she's just moved on.
Good.
As she should.
Yeah, she should.
And she likes to inspire people. And one of the quotes she said in this interview is, no matter how bad it is, there is a way out. And it does get better. It won't ever go away. Like when you go through that kind of trauma, you can't forget it, but it will get better. And there is hope and you can heal from it.
Yes.
She has dreams of becoming a motivational speaker at some point and writing books. So wait to see that from Jordan.
Yep. She's still growing up.
So that's most of my story, but like there's a lot of lessons we can learn from this Turpin family case. And it's something that I already mentioned that Jordan is fighting for, is just, once again, always believe children. If they're saying something's going on, it's worth checking up on it.
Yeah.
I think that mostly for the fact that, could this have been caught when Jennifer was in kindergarten through third grade?
Right.
Like if the teachers had seen that one child and then gone to the Turpin home where there was probably 2 to 3 other children there at home, it could have been caught very early on. And instead they kind of just turned an eye and just like, oh, well, this girl smells horrible and nobody wants to be her friend. Oh, well. And I know teachers are busy, but like they're on the front lines with these kids and a lot of that can be caught early.
I know. And
then I look back at, once again, what are we doing in this country around homeschools? Because like regular schools get audited all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How did they go for 29 years?
That's crazy.
Filing as a homeschool and nobody came into that house and audited it?
No, because they wait for someone to get reported.
But if
that's the only time.
Yeah, all the kids are trapped in there. They can't tell anybody.
And obviously their circle's small enough to where no one caught on.
And then one other thing that I never saw in this story was like grandparents or aunts and uncles. Like it feels like David and Louise were really just completely on their own. Like they weren't hanging out with family for holidays. Like nobody in their world except the two of them. So that's also very odd, because in many of these cases you would know, because like the aunt shows up or the uncle or the, cousin, and they're like, something's not right. These kids were never exposed to any extended family.
Yeah.
Either.
I wonder when that's going to come out, relationships, because if they did have anybody that knew about the children, obviously they cut off ties completely.
They had to have. And when this came out, like there weren't any family members stepping up saying, oh, we'll take some of the children, which you would see in, other cases. You would have aunts or uncles or cousins or grandparents coming forward, and nothing happened. So I don't know what the story is behind their family. That also makes me wonder what kind of background they came from, and that probably turned them into the monsters that they became.
Right.
But once again, this is a story of resilience of the human spirit. Like we see it over and over, especially in abduction cases. I kind of consider this abduction in a way, because they were trapped in there, and they're moving on despite enduring years of unimaginable cruelty. They survived it. They're slowly but surely rebuilding their lives. And the two that have come forward have a lot of courage to be speaking out about it and offering that glimmer of hope to others that are going through dark times. And we will probably see potentially some of the other 11 siblings come forward.
Yeah, over
as
time.
they get older. Mm-hmm.
And, I think what's really beautiful about it actually is Jordan saying, that Justin Bieber got her through so much. But right now there's probably countless little girls who are also watching her video, and they're going through something probably very similar. Mm-hmm. And, they can relate and look up to her. And
yes,
I think that's really neat that she also gets to be an inspiration. It's
so
brave, so freaking brave what they did to get their brothers and sisters out of that. Yeah. And I'm just so mad at our system to have just put them in situations that immediately they were being abused again.
That was one of the parts of the story that really made me angry.
Yeah.
I'm like, they have to be offended multiple times. How the fuck? Like, what are we doing in our foster care system? How are we passing these people to be foster parents? And I know the system is overwhelmed and there's probably not enough people volunteering to foster because that's a huge job to do, but there's got to be something more we can do. We could probably do a whole episode on abuse in foster care.
Yeah. I mean, we've already touched on it in multiple stories.
Or if it's not in foster care, in the children's homes.
Yeah.
A lot of those are sponsored by different churches and organizations, and there are stories there as well.
Yet they want to make sure that every woman has no option to not become a mother if they don't want to. That's what we do here.
We have so many children who are not being cared for, and yet we want to make sure every woman
just
has to reproduce
and keeps doing it.
Mm-hmm. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Nope.
We just keep adding more broken people into the world
and not giving them one resource to live.
No.
Not one.
No
constantly taken away.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. This is once again probably not a happy case, but it is one that I have followed closely. And I think a lot of us probably did. It's been a few years, so I thought it was worth bringing back to light.
No, thank you for doing this one because we've said it a million times. Talking about child abuse is really hard, and especially getting down into the nitty gritty of it. But this family, thankfully, at least now, there is a good outcome to it, and we don't get that all the time.
No.
Like I said, it's amazing that not a single one of those kids died.
It is amazing. And I didn't see anything, like, it doesn't sound like they ever had any medical or dental care.
They never went to the hospital.
No.
If they had. So that's, like you said, they were really good at just keeping them right on the brink and giving them what they needed in the moment to survive what they were experiencing.
Which is very sociopathic
It
if
is.
you think about it.
They kept journals, so maybe they kept medical journals as well.
And these kids didn't know what medication was. So I don't know. How were they keeping them from getting, strep and all of the stuff that most kids get?
I know.
They were just lucky.
Very, very. Or they were being watched over. However you want to see it.
So that it could come out here and be a story of inspiration for those who are going through dark times. Because sometimes that's the purpose of these kinds of horrible things.
Sadly, a lot of us are here to be teachers in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for covering this. And we hope you guys enjoyed it.
Only way you can.
Go support the sisters, and they want to be in the spotlight in one way or another, so let's help them out, because continued attention for them is continued attention for their siblings who are still in foster situations.
And I'm sure they're using some of that money to help their siblings.
Yeah.
I will include their TikTok and Instagram handles on the show notes.
Okay.
And that's our episode for today. We'll be back next Tuesday.
Please send in any of your lab report stories or suggestions to lucidlabpodcast@gmail.com.
And while you're listening, take a few minutes to give us 5 stars on whatever platform you are hearing this on. If you can, leave us comments. Anything helps. We're trying to get more views out there. Share with friends. That's always a great way too. If you're enjoying us, your friends probably will too. We appreciate that. Helps us to grow our podcast.
And in the meantime,
stay lucid.
Goodbye.
Bye.